Hey and welcome back to Cybercom Gaming. We're back with another top 20 compilation video, and for this one, we're taking a look at some of our favorite and in our opinion, greatest Konami games. Now whatever your feelings towards Konami, the company's put out some great games, man. They helped to shape the gaming landscape, and back in the day, were some of the best game developers around. Many of their titles remains some of our all-time greatest games, and with that, we decided to work on our own top 20 greatest Konami games list. This was by no means an easy thing to do, but on the end, we did manage to get it down, and we hope you guys do enjoy this one. All and much more, this is Cybercom Gaming. And flying over on to our number 20, we've got Batman Returns, the 93 Super Nintendo 16-bit beat-em-up game for cross-platforms. Now this game brings back so many memories, and I still remember checking out those old school Batman films, and for the time, I loved it. So this game was naturally going to be a winner. Look, this game is also based on the movie Batman Returns and takes you through 7 cinematic sequences with a few gangs attacking Batman throughout the game. We're shooting over onto this list and sitting at our number 19, we've had to include Super Contra for the NES. Now Konami released Super Contra The Alien Strikes Back in Japan in December of '87. It's a coin-operated arcade game. It's a sequel to the first Contra in the Contra series. Now, in addition to the 8 stages, there's also a ton of action, spot-on weapons, and more than enough bullets to blow those aliens' comebacks to pieces. Okay, now for our number 18 and a relatively forgotten NES title, we've had to include Jackal Top Gunner. Now Jackal was first released for the arcades back in 1987 and got ported over to the NES. Now this overhead shooter still holds up pretty well. Now we've covered this game a few times on this channel already, and our opinion of it will never change. This is definitely a fun game with great co-op, gameplay and music. Konami definitely hit the mark, and we're glad to include this title onto this list. And heading over onto our number 17, we've got Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance. Now this is another awesome Konami game released back in 2013. It's a fast-paced action game with fantastic combat that advances as quickly as the story. What I remember most about Revengeance is the badass fight sequences, especially that iconic final battle against Senator Armstrong. Look, if you're a Metal Gear Solid fan, like fighting robots, and a fan of Raiden, this game is worth checking out. So we're heading down to our number 16, and what better game to take up this spot than Contra 3, The Alien Wars for the SNES. Released in '92, Contra 3 The Alien Wars was definitely a tough game, and this was for hardcore gamers, or people with a lot of persistence, you know. If you weren't accustomed, you were bound to die over and over again, but look, some practice, you'd be good on that comeback. Following on from Contra and Super C, the third title continues to deliver on tight controls, classic weapons to go about your business, and super sharp graphics, making use of the system's Mode 7 graphic effects. Super Castlevania 4 for the SNES lashes in at our number 15. Simon is the hero of Super Castlevania 4, an 11-level side-scrolling game. We'd always jump on this title during winter time or during Halloween. Just one of those memorable titles, and definitely a game that held up its reputation. One of the many cool features was definitely the whip attack, whereas players could hit enemies from 8 different directions using the control pad. Tiny Toon Adventures for the NES jumped straight onto our number 14 spot. Now, released back in '91 by Konami, Tiny Toon Adventures was a spot-on platformer who brought a lot of fun and childhood memories. Many label it a Mario 3 clone, but man, Tiny Toon Adventures still holds up as a solid platformer. I mean, with nice diversity of levels, the ability to switch between different playstyle characters, the detailed sprites in bright colors, the awesome music, and the faithfulness to the original show, just overall made this a classic Konami game. We think many gamers have slept on this title, so yeah, consider checking this one out again. Heading in at our number 13, we've had to include Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater for the PS2. I purchased this game shortly after getting a PS2 and remember burning through the weekends to try and finish it. Metal Gear Solid 3 is an awesome game all around. I mean, the storyline, gameplay, change of scenery with that jungle feel, and the overall presentation. For number 12, we've included the JRPG classic Suikoden 2. Now, if you're into JRPGs as much as we are, then this placement is a no-brainer. This game is really fun because you can make your own army of over 100 unique characters, each with their own backgrounds. This coupled with many side quests, secrets, an immersive storyline, memorable gameplay, great music, and detailed cities make this a classic title that is still highly sought after even after all these years. Many gamers still mention this as one of the greatest video games of all time, and you know what? It's not hard to see why. And Silent Hill 3 slips on to our number 11. Now, the original PlayStation 2 version is definitely the one you want, but prepare to hand out some cash for it. Look, Silent Hill 3 is incredibly creepy, dark and moody. You play as Heather, a young teenager just enjoying the day at the mall. When a detective or weird detective approaches and starts questioning her, she senses bad vibes and quickly eludes to try and flee the mall, only to become caught up in the mysterious horrors of her past. Monsters begin to spawn around her and she doesn't know why. As you progress through the story, you'll learn about Heather's role and how she's connected to the town of Silent Hill. Just a classic Team Silent title and one not to be missed if you're a fan of survival horror games. And from one Team Silent game to the next, we've got Silent Hill at our number 10, which created a perfect blend of Japanese and Western style horror. This is definitely one of our favorite survival horror games out there. While a lot of people might complain about the graphics, there's a lot more that goes into a game than how it looks. You play as Harry Mason, a middle-aged man who has lost his daughter in a really creepy town engulfed in fog. As you venture through the unknown, you slowly discover a mystery that's even more terrifying than what you initially suspected. Man, I loved Silent Hill growing up. It's a title that managed to inspire many other games and movies. I still remember that creepy atmosphere, the story, many puzzles, challenging combat, the way it managed to scare the crap out of you. Just a classic title indeed. Turtles in Time for the SNES smashes over to our number 9. Now this 91 beat 'em up is still considered as one of the all-time best side-scrolling beat 'em ups ever released. The co-op is fantastic and it still captures that arcade cabinet feel. Shredder and the Krang stole the Statue of Liberty and it's up to the Turtles to stop them. Man, I've had so many great childhood memories playing this with friends. It's fun and addictive and guaranteed to get you on some of those nostalgia feels. We're down to our number 8 and a worthy title indeed. What else but Metal Gear Solid 2 Sons of Liberty for the PS2. Now this is just one of those games you have to own. Sure, the cinematics got a bit too long, but you know what? I didn't mind it. I felt like I was watching an interactive action movie. For the first tiny section of the game, you play as Snake, the protagonist for Metal Gear Solid 1. Then, as a twist, you play as Raiden, a young soldier with a dark past for about 95% of it. Metal Gear Solid 2 was more than just a video game. It had a true captivating story with an incredible plot, engaging characters, and it was just definitely ahead of its time in many aspects. Just an important entry in the series and a true Konami classic. Flying into the 7th spot, we had to include Salamander, or also known as Life Force in the USA. Side-scrolling shooter with attitude, cool levels, music, mixing it with that NES era retro feel, I know you'd be 100% sold. Salamander switches from side-scrolling to an above view, with each level having its own unique look and atmosphere, which presented new challenges as you progress through the game. So basically, it's a good challenge, fun to play with a friend, the graphics are nice, and the soundtrack, cool. And it's just all sorts of interesting levels and bosses. We're steady working down our top 20 greatest Konami games, and happy to note that our number 6 is Castlevania 3 Dracula's Curse, a prequel to the original Castlevania, set a few centuries before those events. You place in the boots of Trevor Belmont, and with the aid of other 3 playable characters, Grant, Cypher and Alucard, goes on a mission to defeat Dracula. This entry is praised for restoring Castlevania to its roots and brought with it some great music, fun gameplay, and strong, good old 8-bit graphics. Just another childhood classic with tons of nostalgia. And dropping to our first spot, we had to include Contra. I won't go into too much about this game as I've covered this title a few times now, but man, it's definitely a game that not only brings back so many childhood memories, but also helped me to fall in love with gaming. It was a classic 8-bit shooter that delivered on the gameplay aspect perfectly, while treating you to some epic game soundtracks. Battling with Bill and Lance, you're on a quest to stop the evil alien invading force Red Falcon. With 8 diverse stages, epic co-op, you can bet that Contra stood the test of time and remains one of those titles that helped define the NES for what it is today. Okay, this list is definitely getting real, so look, for our number 4, we had to include Castlevania. Now, for those unfamiliar with Castlevania, it was actually one of the first games produced for the Nintendo Entertainment System. Castlevania is all about mood. Get the sense of adventure in a spooky gothic castle with worn-out furnishings. It was just these feels that got me intrigued as a kid. So many countless hours I've sunk into this one, I'll never get bored of it. This is a classic, and this is where it all started. 8-bit magic with a great story and gameplay, matched with an epic soundtrack. To us, this game set the trend for future platformers. If you disagree, feel free. The original Metal Gear Solid for the PS1 acclaimed legendary status and became the game associated with the PlayStation system, which is one of the many reasons it's sitting at our number 3. This is without a doubt the best game in the series. Now, while most critics have argued that the cinematics have detracted from the overall quality of the game, I would argue that the storytelling elements and cinematics has given the game its trademark appeal. This PS classic had everything that was needed to make an excellent video game. From the great story, interesting characters, to the awesome gameplay and wonderful music score. Just everything about Metal Gear Solid was perfect. I often take time to revisit this one, even to this day. This is indeed another Konami classic. For the second spot, and a game that truly revolutionized storytelling in video games, just had to be Silent Hill 2. With its perfect blend of suspense and horror, I fondly remember playing this game back in the mid-2000s. This game begins with James Sutherland talking about how he received a letter from his wife who died 3 years ago telling him to return to this special place, Silent Hill, and to meet her there. On his way, James runs into Angelo's looking for a mother, Eddie, who ran to the town as a flea attempt, Laura, a little girl who was friends with Mary in the hospital, and Maria, a woman that looks exactly like Mary besides her hair, clothes, and personality. But what I remember most about the game, man, it had to be the monsters. I mean, from mannequins to bobble-headed nurses to doormen, and a creature called Abstract Daddy, which is still one of the most frightening to us. And yes, the well-known Pyramid Head. This was survival horror at its best, and it's still one of the best games I've ever played. Castlevania Symphony of the Night takes our top spot. Now, quite simply, this is quite possibly the best game ever made, period. Konami managed to take the standard formula of finding items and opening up new areas, managed to excel on every level with Symphony of the Night. This 2D side-scrolling RPG still holds up, from the gameplay, to the characters, to the music, to the perfect blend of 2D and 3D graphics. This game have it all, even after all these years. Alucard can be equipped with countless swords and armors, learn magical spells, collect numerous relics, and transform into a bad wolf or mist. The castle itself is large, and reverses later in the game, depending on how you would like to play the game, which is another point to raise. Man, just so much that I can say about this game. It's iconic, memorable, and a true Konami gem. There you have it, guys. That's our top 20 greatest Konami games. What did you guys think? Do you agree? Do you disagree? What is your favorite and all-time greatest Konami game? Would love to hear from you guys. Let us know in the comments below. Also, if you did like this video and this type of content, please consider leaving a like, subscribe. Also hit the bell notification so that you are notified for when we are releasing any future videos. Cybercom Gaming is your one-stop variety gaming channel. Thank you so much for all the support lately, and until next time, see ya.